Did it contribute in any way to our inability to fight the fire, or were 99-mile-an-hour winds determinative and there was really no firefight that could have been more meaningful? On the insurance side, we did an executive order a year ago to do climate modeling and to address some of the wildland urban and I'm just blessed. I mean this. I'm blessed. I have 40 million Americans that happen to live in California that Joe Biden's president of the United States and did what he did immediately. And to the extent that we can work with the same relationship and that same spirit with Donald Trump, I hope we can. I have faith in our leaders. I have the faith of our capacity to work together.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent.
That's an interesting thing. They cut it right there. You see this? Watch this.
Of our capacity to work together.
President-elect Trump has
He was still talking. So they cut some answer that California Governor Gavin Newsom gives a big, long interview addressing these LA fires, what's going on, what his plan is, how he's going to try to fix it, how he's going to help people. Doesn't come across that great, in my opinion. And he has a lot of these fancy hand movements that seem a little weird as well. It's Sean Daniel here. If you guys enjoy the video, consider subscribing or supporting me with a YouTube membership down below. Now let's go, Gavin, my buddy. Get ready.
Governor Gavin Newsom, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good to be with you.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
6 different wildfires raging right now. Do you have the resources to combat all these fires at this hour?
Yeah, we got 14,000 people working the line right now. We doubled the National Guard. We have 1,680 out there helping on the logistics side. I was just with folks from Mexico, 73 folks. They'll be relieving some of our hand crews. We've got 9 states that are now providing under this EMAC system support. So we've got the resources, but we have more important this. We have the winds that have changed, and that allows us to be more resourceful with existing resources, particularly the aerial resources.
Does it strike you guys, not just me, that he seems like a total scam artist and scumbag? Just the way he moves his arms and does these continual movements.
We have to be careful on the death toll. Lost and 85 people that lost their lives. Currently, we're getting confirmation from the coroner, so we always have to be careful.
What is your biggest concern over the course of the next 48 hours?
I think is making sure the life safety focus, the property focus is there, at the same time we're addressing the perimeter issues. The challenge is the winds. We've got these winds coming back this evening, Sunday night. We've got peak winds on Monday. We're going to see 50-plus mile-an-hour gusts, subject to change. So now we're pre-positioning assets.
You're here with us on Meet the Press to announce a new executive order. What is this executive order? What are you hoping to accomplish?
Look, we've got to be thinking 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years ahead. At the same time, we're focusing on the immediacy, which is life safety and property. And so that's exactly what we're doing with disaster assistance, making sure people are getting their applications, addressing the issue of fraud. And that's an issue we've got to address, price gouging. So executive orders on price gouging, recovery. We want to get inspections, units like this. We want to get our inspection teams out here. They're already starting to get out here. I want to make sure when someone rebuilds that they have their old property tax assessments and that they're not increased. So all of that's been done in the executive order we just announced.
Does anybody believe that he's going to stick to that, though? Would we want any executive order from Gavin Newsom out of California? The guy who did not have his state prepared for a fire because he wanted to protect fish from in waterways up in the mountains, didn't want to utilize those to have more water. Do we trust Gavin Newsom to make executive orders and plans that will do good for citizens that just lost all their homes and all their things?
Well, Governor, and the Coastal Act are both environmental regulations, and if you're going to be suspending those temporarily, are you concerned about problems that may result from the suspension of those environmental regulations and a potential abuse by developers?
Yeah, we're not going to, and within this executive order, we frame those abuses. We basically bookmark that in the context of maintaining the existing footprints.
That is such a slimeball, car salesman, smooth campaign speech move that he's doing that's ingrained in him. He's being so, that just comes across as slimy to me.
Coastal Act, they allow just a 10% variant, so we're going to be very mindful of that. California leads the nation in environmental stewardship. I'm not going to give that up, but one thing I won't.
Environmental stewardship, more like environmental communism you guys lead the nation in. You guys want to be the leaders in all electric vehicles, no gas. Okay.
Give into is delay. Delay is denial for people, lives, traditions, places torn apart, torn asunder, families, schools, community centers, churches. You've seen it. The number of schools that have been lost in this community, and we've got to let people know we have their back. We're going to be back. We're going to do it efficiently and effectively. Don't turn your back. Don't walk away, because we want you to come back, rebuild, and rebuild with higher quality building standards, more modern standards. And we want to make sure that the associated costs with that are not disproportionate, especially in a middle-class community like this.
If I was in California and I just had my home destroyed, if I just had my home, my community get destroyed like this, why would I come back? Why would I re-move back to California if I had the option with a job and everything? Look at that entire neighborhood wiped out from a fire. Wiped out. I can't trust my local government to take care of me. Why on earth would I move back to California when they had their reservoir empty like this?
You've also called for an independent investigation into the issues around water supply that we've seen. What are the questions that you're hoping to answer?
The same ones you're asking, same ones that people when I'm in the streets are asking, yelling about. What the hell happened? What happened to the water system? Was it, and by the way, was it just overwhelm? That you had so much that was used, we drew it down? Was it pipes? Was it electricity? It was a combination of pipes, electricities, and pumps. What was that drawdown impossible because you lost 7,000+ structures right here anyway, and every single structure we lost had a pipe that was leaking, and we would have lost that water pressure anyway. Did it contribute in any way to our inability to fight the fire, or were 99-mile-an-hour winds determinative and there was really no firefight that could have been more meaningful? So all of us want to know those answers, and I just don't want to wait because people are asking me. I want to know those facts. I want them objectively determined, and that the chips fall where they may. This is not about finger pointing.
You say what?
Do you think that if he really found out what was the cause of it, like possibly him not wanting to use water for environmental reasons to protect fish, or the fact that they didn't even have the water reservoir full, do you think if the real reason was found out that he's going to tell the public? Because I don't. He's going to give the political answer to try to save his butt, put the blame on somebody else. We see through the sleaziness, don't we, folks, of Gavin Newsom. Just by the way he comes across, not even about what he exactly says, the statements he makes, the words in those statements, but just the way he comes across by looking at him talk on mute. You can see the sleaziness that this man has. Looks like a car salesman. He seems to function like a car salesman. Moving his arms a lot like he's trying to motivate and get people excited when this is a serious topic.
You say what to people who insist that these independent investigations or calls for them? Are you passing the blame on to other people?
How could it be when we're doing an independent investigation and we just want the adjudication of the facts? As I say, it's not about finger pointing. It's about answering the questions you and everybody wants answered. And I think there's a propensity to wait to answer those questions. And people want immediacy. They want response and responsiveness. And so that's the idea.
Ultimately here,
the question is, if it comes back, we don't trust the investigation anyway. We know it was your lack of taking care of things, Gavin. Just stop playing games. But do people really care? After they have lost their homes and their lives like this, do you think they really care whose fault it was, what's going on? Bro, are you going to rebuild my house because you guys didn't, whoever's fault it was, did not have things prepared to take care of a fire? That's what people really want to know. That's what people care about. Okay? And is California going to rebuild these homes? No. No. It's time to move out of California, folks.
ultimately here, does the buck stop with you?
I mean, you're governor of California. You might as well be the mayor of California. We're all in this together. We're all better off. We're all better off. We're all better off, and we're working together to take care of people and to make sure people are supported.
Yeah, we're sure you do that.
And we're here not just in the immediacy of the crisis, but we're here after the crisis, as opposed to creating a crisis in the middle of this by trying to divide people and play political. Take cheap political shots.
Do you have faith in Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass?
I have absolute faith in our community. I have faith in our leaders. I have the faith of our capacity to work together.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent.
That's an interesting thing. They cut it right there. You see this? Watch this.
Of our capacity to work together.
President-elect Trump has
He
blamed...
was still talking. So they cut some answer that he didn't, maybe he didn't give the best answer or something. Do you think NBC and these people would give Trump and the other people that exclusivity, that ability to say, hey, I get rid of that. That wasn't that good? Hell no. Watch this.
And our leaders, I have the faith of our capacity to work together.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent. What's your response?
Well, I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California, that mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults,
Here we go.
Spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
My understanding is that you have put a call into President
Gavin Newsom wanted to put some restrictions on being able to use water from up above in the mountains because it was going to endanger, supposedly, some fish. And Trump's saying, you could have used more of that water, but they're so environmentally conscious, and now people don't have their homes for a variety of reasons. But one of the reasons was that reservoir in LA that was empty.
My understanding is that you have put a call into President-elect Trump. Has he called you back?
No, that was months ago. That was after his victory. So I look forward to him again coming out here in the spirit of cooperation.
Forgive me for interrupting you, but you did invite him to come out here. Have you had any response?
No.
Nothing. Multiple times, Mr. Trump has threatened to withhold aid for California wildfires, both as president and now again as president-elect. Are you worried that he might actually do that?
Well, I mean, he's done it in Utah, he's done it in Michigan, he did it in Puerto Rico. He did it to California back before I was even governor in 2018, until he found out folks in Orange County voted for him, and then he decided to give the money. So he's been at this for years and years and years. It transcends states, including, by the way, Georgia. He threatened similarly. So that's his style. And we take it seriously to the extent that in the past, it's taken a little bit more time. I've been pretty expressive about that in the context of someone threatening our first responders in terms of supporting the immediacy of their needs.
That's what you take it as, that President-elect Trump is threatening the first responders here.
Well, I mean, it's what he said. He said, I'm not going to support the firefighting efforts. I'm not going to support the state of California as it relates to its emergency management. He made this pretty clear during the election, unless they do my bidding. And again, these are familiar terms, and they're familiar to a lot of other states, not just my state, and they're familiar to not just me as governor, but the previous governor of California, Governor Brown, that was battling with these same things. So you just work through these things, and I'm just blessed. I mean this. I'm blessed. I have 40 million Americans that happen to live in California, that Joe Biden's president of the United States and did what he did immediately. And to the extent that we can work with the same relationship and that same spirit with Donald Trump, I hope we can.
Okay. California, the way that they handle funds, the way that Gavin Newsom handles funds, the way that he allows sanctuary city policies, would we want to give federal money to California and trust that that money is actually going to go to the proper aid that it's being designated for, like with the fires? When California is basically a whole state, mostly, of the Democrat Party, and the Democrat Party was largely responsible for sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and now only sending $770 to victims of this fire in California. Do we trust that big version of the Democrat Party, which is basically all of California, to properly utilize funds that are sent to it? No. So hence maybe why Trump does not want to send all this money that California is just going to request for the fires. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to immediately send it and saying, look, there's some stuff that goes on in California. They're not going to be getting the federal money that they continually get with Biden and all these other people. Maybe that's what he's talking about, Gavin. But do you see how he twists it? That's why you got to stay so sharp when you watch this stuff.
That we can work with the same relationship and that same spirit with Donald Trump. I hope we can.
President Biden, last time I saw you in the Palisades on Wednesday, right after this fire started, you were on the phone at the side of the road trying to reach President Biden. Subsequent to that, he pledged 100% of the disaster recovery relief for the next 6 months. Is that enough?
Well, it's significant. I mean, in fact, when I was on the phone, you saw me on the phone, I was trying to get the satellite phone work. I asked for 90%. And he said, no, I'm going to do 100%. It was a big deal. 180 days is a big deal. But he also had just provided the major disaster declaration, and we did the press conference the next day. And that is profoundly significant because that's individual assistance, disasterassistance.gov. People should go to disasterassistance.gov and start filling out applications, get that immediate relief, and then get longer and medium-term relief. But no, he stepped up in a way that an American president should step up, and I couldn't be more proud of him. That's not a political statement. That's not because I'm a Democrat saying that. It's because I'm a human being trying to help other human beings in the most extreme elements in the most difficult time of their life.
As you know, Governor, there are many California residents who have struggled to obtain fire insurance. What happens to these Californians who cannot afford to rebuild?
Well, we created, and we had a major issue after the Camp Fire. In fact, I was governor-elect during the Camp Fire, and it precipitated in the largest bankruptcy, or rather, bankruptcy of the largest utility in the United States of America, PG&E. Process of getting them back on their feet and beginning to underground and deal with vegetation and forest management differently in California, which, by the way, we've 10x'd the forest management investments in the state since I've become governor. We created a wildfire fund. That is around the utility issues. On the insurance side, we did an executive order a year ago to do climate modeling and to address some of the wildland-urban interface in terms of requiring insurance to be placed before we can increase rates. We have created a FAIR plan, or at least expanded a FAIR plan, and it has reinsurance. We're assessing, as we do the damage assessment, the total value of the claims, and we will determine what to do after we understand the magnitude of those claims.
Some of these Californians in homes that burnt like this were thrown off of their policies, their fire policies, before this fire season. What do you say to those Californians?
No, it breaks your heart. I mean, this is an issue, and by the way, persists in California because of the acuity of the new realities. Hot's getting hotter, dry's getting drier, wet's getting wetter, these atmospheric rivers, all the flooding that we've experienced in California, but also across the rest of the United States. You're seeing insurance rates through the roof, et cetera. But here's the point. We've been proactive in trying to stabilize that market. That was the executive order a year and a half ago. Insurance commissioner has been moving in that direction. I'll give you a proof point of some of the success of that. Just a week ago, a major insurer announced they were reinsuring in Paradise, California, where the Camp Fire was, because people repopulated. Farmers said they were coming back. So we're very mindful of that. And that's why the FAIR plan is that backup plan. But I'm also mindful of this as someone on the FAIR plan, intimately aware of how it works. It's not the kind of insurance that you get on the private sector, meaning you're not getting as much in terms of that protection.
It also raises questions about whether or not taxpayer dollars should be used to put people back in these highly vulnerable areas like the one we're standing in right now. Should they?
Well, to the extent look, the issue here, and particularly in Altadena, some of these homes were built in the 20s and 30s and 40s when you didn't have the building codes that we have today. You can see, and you saw this, the camp was a masterclass at that, in the context of seeing why did these buildings survive, these buildings. It's not in every case, I'm not naive about that, but the buildings that tended to survive were ones that were built after 2008 with a higher threshold of building codes. And so as we rebuild, we will have these higher levels of codes and standards that should help protect some of these communities. But I don't want to say to folks that have been here for generations, 3 generations, living in this beautiful middle-class neighborhood, that now you've got to go. So we've got to do everything we can to protect them. We got to make sure, and it was the case up in Camp where people are repopulating in Paradise, California, that we have a different system of ingress and egress, redundancy as it relates to emergency preparedness, as it relates to infrastructure. Make sure we underground these wires going forward, make sure the community is more resilient in every way, shape, or form.
Over the course of the next...
How would people even be able to repopulate back there after losing their entire home? Homes in California are ridiculously expensive. What you get for $500,000 in California is nothing. What are people supposed to do? I really have no idea what's about to happen now. Because not only is their place gone, but people are having to pay, probably, to stay somewhere right now while their house is destroyed. And you're telling me hotel prices and Airbnb prices in around LA are not through the roof already, let alone with this demand? I don't know how people are supposed to manage this. And if they could leave, I don't know why they would stay. If they have the option, job-wise, a little bit more movability with their family, or if they're single, why would they stay in this LA area when they see the way that they're not protected by their government from situations like this? But also, how are people supposed to survive?
Forward, make sure the community is more resilient in every way, shape, or form.
Over the course of the next several years, Los Angeles will be host to the World Cup, and then the Super Bowl, and then the Olympics. With this rebuilding effort needing to take place, is LA going to be ready for all of those global events?
My humble position, and it's not just being naively optimistic.
What is this?
That only reinforces the imperative moving quickly, doing it in the spirit of collaboration and cooperation. President of the United States, Donald Trump, to his credit, was helpful in getting the Olympics to the United States of America, to get it down here in LA. We thank him for that. This is an opportunity for him to shine, for this country to shine, for California and this community to shine. The opportunity with all of that and all that opportunity and that pride and spirit that comes from not just hosting those three iconic games and venues, but also the opportunity, I think, to rebuild at the same time. And that's why we're already organizing a Marshall Plan. We already have a team looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that were ravaged by this disaster.
You just said you're organizing a Marshall Plan for the rebuilding of California. What is that Marshall Plan?
For
Tell
this
us about
region,
this Marshall
we're just
Plan.
starting to lay out. I mean, we're still fighting these fires, so we're already talking to city leaders, we're already talking to civic leaders, we're already talking to business leaders and nonprofits, we're talking to labor leaders. We're starting to organize how we can put together a collection of individuals on philanthropy for recovery, how we can organize the region, how we can make sure that we are seeking federal assistance for the Olympics more broadly, but also federal assistance for the recovery efforts, and how we can galvanize the community with folks that love this community to really develop a mindset so that at scale we're dealing with the scope of this tragedy and responding to it at scale with efficiency, like the executive order I talked about, time value of delivering projects, addressing building codes, addressing permitting issues, and moving forward to rebuilding and being more resilient.
Governor Gavin Newsom, thank you so much for joining us on Meet the Press.
Good.
That's a huge pressure-packed interview that guy just did, Gavin Newsom. You know, he had to be forceful, he had to be serious. This is a serious thing that he's dealing with. But he does have a lot of these hand movements and things that come off as weird. But that's a pressure-packed interview. I know it's easy to be on here and just criticize what he said, what he did. He's a slimeball. We all know that. But that's a serious, intense interview. You're going to go out, share what's going on to these people that just had their lives wrecked. One thing that I wish was covered more for people, especially that were affected, was what am I supposed to do right now? I'm living with my family in hotel rooms and Airbnbs. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to keep dumping all this money into a hotel and Airbnb, moved all my stuff out, my stuff's gone? What's going to happen right now for me? You know, it's not like life stops for a month because your house burned down. People have jobs, people have bills, people have kids that need to go to school. What's happening right now? Forget about some damn executive order, some making it better in the future with fire prevention, Biden giving us $700. Like, bro, my life is going on right now, Gavin. That's what I would want to hear. Yes, it's not based, his answers are based on the direction of the interviewer, but that's something I would want to hear, not some political spiel about this executive order, these other things. We're going to work with the coming administration. I'm like, bro, I got to live right now. All my stuff is gone. And hotel and Airbnb prices in LA area must be through the roof. Anyway, it's Sean Daniel here. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. You can watch another one right here. See ya.